Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, coming up on the programme this evening.
He'd been working on his bomb for at least 7 months. More details emerge about Imad al-Swayalmin as the hospital where it exploded speaks out.
It's traumatic, and I think we're still coming to terms with what happened here. We are just so thankful that there weren't more people injured or worse.
The bright young man who died after being stabbed by a friend. As a coroner gives her conclusions, we hear from Yusuf Maki's family.
We're known for being a rainy region, but tonight's the community who have to rely on a well for their water.
And a great day for Crunchy. She goes back to where she belongs, thanks to some very dedicated volunteers.
Well, first, as we come on air tonight, there are developments in that inquiry into the terrorist attack at Liverpool Women's Hospital on Remembrance Sunday.
Yeah, so let's cross live now to our Merseyside correspondent, Andy Bonner, who is in the Kensington area of the city for us tonight, where there is a lot of police activity, Andy.
Yeah, that's right, Lucy. This is the location of one of two properties the police have been searching since Sunday as part of their terror investigation. This afternoon, the cordon here around this property was extended not once but twice to quite a significant area. Police were saying it was purely as a precaution, but people here, neighbours, some school children we believe as well, were told to stay indoors, stay inside for their own safety, while police tried to ascertain about the materials that had been found in this property and whether or not they were dangerous or not. Within the last few minutes, though, the cordon here has been reduced once again, which would suggest any concern has now gone away, but it certainly does show how this is very much alive and ongoing investigation.
Andy, thank you. So what more do we know tonight about the man at the centre of all this?
Sarah Rogers is at the Liverpool Women's Hospital for us this evening. Sarah, what have the counter-terrorism police said about him?
Well, we know that this attack just led to so many questions, don't we, as people try to figure out what actually happened. So today, counter-terror police believe that this plot may have begun some 7 months ago as Imad al-Swayalmin began to buy component parts to build that homemade device which police believe he took into a taxi and detonated here on Sunday. Now, there is some new footage of the taxi's final journey which has been released today. It was caught on cameras as the taxi made that journey here. Now, we all know the result of that. Contact with his next of kin has revealed that he was born in Iraq and had some mental health issues, which police say is forming part of their investigation.
And Sarah, the chief executive of the hospital at the centre of this has been speaking about Sunday events as well.
Well, absolutely, Lucy. So the focus, of course, has been on the suspect, but here at the hospital it's had a profound effect. In the last hour, the cordon has gone down and we know that the car has been removed. And the chief executive said that she's just so glad that it wasn't any worse.
It's traumatic, and I think we're still coming to terms with what happened here. We are just so thankful that there weren't more people injured or worse by the events here. Our thoughts are with the taxi driver. We've written to him from Liverpool Women's, just wishing him well and a speedy recovery.
And just to add there as well, that operations and appointments are going ahead here as normal.
And Sarah, you've also spoken to people in Liverpool who believe they knew Imad al-Swayalmin.
Yes, and to them, he was known as Enzo. We know that he converted to Christianity in 2015. Earlier, I was at a church in Fazakerley that he attended between 2017 and 2019. I spoke to the Reverend's wife there. She said that she considered him a friend. Now, there has been scepticism over his new faith and what we know to be that failed bid at asylum seeking, but that is not what parishioners saw of him.
He was quite quiet and gentle. He had a friendly smile, and he was easy to be around. He was easy to chat to. He was willing to get stuck in church, and was involved in serving teas and coffees and things, and seemed an uncomplicated person. We had him to lunch once at a family lunch on Easter Day, and he was just good company to have around, happy to help out with the washing up and happy to be part of what was going on. So yes, I did like him, and I considered him to be a friend.
Also today we learned that he took a cake decorating course at the City of Liverpool College as a mature student in 2017 and 2018. So all this information that's coming out about him isn't what one might expect when looking at the personality of an apparent bomber. And that's why the counter-terror police have said that they want to speak to people that knew him within the last 12 months so they can find out what happened and what went wrong, and importantly, the motivation behind what happened here.
OK, Sarah, for now, many thanks indeed.
Well, moving on now, and a narrative conclusion has been recorded at an inquest on Yousef Mackey, the 17-year-old boy who was stabbed by a friend in Greater Manchester. Lawyers for his family had argued for a finding of unlawful killing.
But the coroner said she couldn't be satisfied that was the case on the evidence the inquest had heard. Our correspondent Rob Smith joins us live from Stockport. Rob, what did the coroner say this evening?
Well, she said that Yousef died from a single stab wound to the chest, but she added in her narrative conclusion that the precise circumstances in which he was wounded, quote, cannot, on the balance of probabilities, be ascertained. Now, that meant that she ruled out all the other possible conclusions, the likes of accidental death, misadventure, lawful killing. The one that was much discussed at this inquest, unlawful killing. She said that a bright young man had his bright future ended that day. Yousef, who was a scholarship pupil at the £12,000 a year Manchester Grammar School, was stabbed in Hale Barnes in March 2019 after a fight. He was stabbed by a friend, the inquest heard, Joshua Molnar. He was cleared of both murder and manslaughter after telling a trial jury that he acted in self-defence. He did, though, admit initially lying to police about what happened and possessing a knife. He received 16 months in custody. Another friend who was with the pair that day, Adam Chowdhury, he was cleared of perverting the course of justice, also admitted possessing a knife. He got 4 months in detention.
And Rob, what's been the reaction from the Mackey family tonight?
Well, they say that they are disappointed. It's not the conclusion that they and their lawyers had argued for, but they say that they have got some kind of closure from this inquest because they believe they have changed the public perception of Yousef. They believe that they have opened people's eyes to the sociable, loving, bright young man that he was, and they told me earlier today just how they want him to be remembered.
He always had a twinkle in his eye and the biggest, warmest smile, full of energy, full of life, and so many hopes and dreams for his future. He would have been in university now, in his second year, probably in Oxford or Cambridge, just like he always wished.
What are your best memories of your brother?
The smile that he kept on his face constantly, his intelligence, his charisma, and how much he loved us all and we loved him.
You sat at the front of that courtroom on day one of the inquest with that picture of Yousef at the festival. What a picture that was. Did that help you to feel he was there with you?
It was a comfort carrying that picture because it felt like he was in the room with us, even though spiritually he was, but physically he wasn't. And I felt like day one of the inquest, we had our day in court, the day that we've been waiting for all these years. We finally got what we wanted to say out there about Yousef, who he was to us, and not the way he was portrayed before.
And that void that you spoke of during the inquest, that huge void, you spend day after day tiptoeing around that in your lives because you can't fill it.
No, Yousef's gap, no one can
Fill it.
And you wouldn't understand it. Nobody would understand it because they didn't know Yousef in person. And I'm not making him look like an angel, because for me he is an angel, and for us as a family he is an angel.
What does it mean to you to have Yousef's nephew, your son, now want to fulfil his ambition, go on to be that surgeon he dreamt of being?
Yousef was very inspirational for him when he was alive because he used to study with with my son, and he always wanted him to go to the school he was at. So we're really proud of him that in his grief he was still able, to apply himself, and he got a place on full bursary just like him. He's in his second year now, and he always says to me, I'm going to finish what Yusuf started. And that's what makes him want to study and push harder, because that's his dream.
Yeah, moving testimony from Yusuf's family. Rob, the coroner did say she would be raising the issue of knife crime with the government.
Yeah, she said that she heard evidence during this inquest that could only be described as showing the glorification of knives, that somehow they impressed people. She made it quite clear knives do not impress anyone, and she is going to write to the Secretary of State for Education asking for changes to be made to the way teenagers are taught in school, to try and make it clear to them the risks, the grave dangers of having a knife.
OK, Rob, thank you.
Well, more news now. The Manchester City footballer Benjamin Mendy has appeared in court charged with 2 more counts of rape. The 27-year-old now faces 6 allegations of rape and 1 of sexual assault. The offences are alleged to have taken place in Macclesfield last summer. Mendy, who's been suspended by his club, will go on trial in January.
A Liverpool MP who survived the Hillsborough disaster has told Parliament the tragedy should be taught in schools as part of the national curriculum. Labour's Ian Byrne has received support from 30 MPs that the fight for justice should be included in the education programme. 97 people died as a result of the disaster in 1989. Now, would you know how to save someone's life in an emergency? The families of some of those killed in the Manchester Arena bombing have been learning essential first aid skills which could save lives. The inquiry into the attack has heard how it could be at least half an hour before a paramedic arrives to help.
So sometimes, inevitably, the public will have to fend for themselves. But it's that first 10 minutes after an attack that can be crucial to someone's survival. Our correspondent, Amy Welch, reports.
John, let's have a look at this bleed. Right, keep some pressure on there for me.
This isn't real.
I'm going to have to get this tourniquet on.
But it's a reality hundreds were faced with when a bomb was detonated at the Manchester Arena in 2017. Ruth Morell and her daughter Emily were both badly injured, and she admits she didn't know what to do.
Looking at my daughter and my friend, I needed to get help for them straight away. And I'll be perfectly honest, I had no clues whatsoever as to what to do to even just check on and do normal first aid. For me, I have taken that responsibility on myself because I want to learn more.
Now she's taking part in this Stop the Bleed first aid course, alongside the family of Martin Hett, who died that night.
Everybody assumes that it's the paramedics and doctors that save lives, but I think it's important to remember that in order to get that stage, you need to be looked after and kept alive long enough for the professionals to do their work.
The inquiry into the attack heard how it could be 30 minutes or more before paramedics arrive at the scene of a terrorist attack.
The public might expect paramedics would be there within seconds or minutes treating the casualties. But what we now understand very well is that that is wholly unrealistic.
And that the public must plug a care gap which may be the difference between life and death. Simon Rogers is today's trainer and told me applying a tourniquet is a simple skill anyone can learn.
If you look at the incidents that have occurred in the UK and just globally, a lot of people want to go and help out. And so it's that good Samaritan, it's that lay person, that first aider, that person who wants to go and help and aid somebody who's in a dire need. And I think it's something that should be mandated. I think it should be a life skill, much like learning to swim.
Anne Burke was at the concert with her husband and daughter and says those skills may have helped with the shrapnel injuries they all suffered.
If we can do it and learn it, then yeah, if I'm there and I'm the first there, I would like to help.
Specialist first aid kits containing tourniquets and military-style dressings are now being made available in crowded spaces like arenas and football stadiums. And with the right skills and equipment, the public could save lives. Amy Welch, ITV News.
Yeah, what an inspiration those families are. Well, still to come tonight.
Saving our seals, the vital work being carried out by wildlife volunteers.
And some really quite mild air moving in for the northwest over the next couple of days. And Windy Corner by tomorrow morning is going to be, well, quite windy. Full forecast a little later on.
And here's Mary with details of the ITV News at 6:30.
Coming up on the programme, the surging cost of living as inflation hits a 10-year high. Prices are up by 4.2%, driven by the rising cost of fuel and food, with warnings it's likely to go higher still. Also ahead, a cheerful Queen is back at work after missing Remembrance Sunday with a back strain. And some words of advice from a Castle veteran as we get a first look at the new I'm a Celebrity set. That and more do join me at 6:30.
Didn't Her Majesty look well in those pictures?
She did. I was just wondering what that gunk was in that second report there. I'm a Celebrity, back soon. I think it's on Sunday, isn't it? Now then, to a water shortage with a difference and why all is not well. You'll get it in a minute for a small group of people living near Oldham.
Yeah, the community near the village of Shaw aren't on the mains, and their main source of water is an open well. But that's not reliable, especially, of course, in the summer.
And as Tim Scott reports, getting connected to a mains water supply could cost them tens of thousands of pounds.
The beautiful little hamlet of Weeder Square has sat overlooking Oldham for centuries. The handful of people who live here get their water from this old underground well. But over the last couple of years, the well has started to run dry.
If it's raining April to May, then we can get through summer. If it doesn't rain and it's a hot summer like it did, not last year, the year before, usually we run out July, August with no water.
It means residents here have had to change their toilet habits when the water runs low.
We don't have any water for the toilets or anything, so all we can do then is use the blue stuff. You know, like when you go camping, you use the blue. Yeah, that's what we use.
The fluid, yeah. Just flush it when
just
necessary.
Flush it when we've had a poo.
So as it stands now, this little community here in Weeder Square have plenty of water going into this winter and into next spring. But when next summer comes round again, well, they'll be worried all over again that their well will dry up and they'll be left scrabbling around for their water supply all over again. The residents have resorted to begging for water off the local fire station, and they've been quoted tens of thousands of pounds to get a water mains pipe attached, something they just can't afford. They're looking to Oldham Council for help, but it seems the council don't have any obligation to get involved.
Your land here is unadopted, it's not council land. A lot of people might say, why should the council step in?
Well, I didn't know what I was getting into when I bought the property, obviously, but it was like one of the last jobs I was going to do is, you know, get mains up here. We're not actually asking them to, you pay for it and that's it. You know, help us out to sort the problem out. And if we have to pay in another way, then we will do.
A council spokesman said, our staff found that the pipe serving the well isn't fitted properly, meaning it isn't catching all the spring water, so this can lead to it drying out. This is the responsibility of the homeowners, not the council or United Utilities. It is their responsibility to rectify the issue. So it seems the Weeder Square residents will have to find a lot of cash from somewhere to fix their well, or once again be left wondering if their water will run out next summer. Tim Scott, ITV News, Oldham.
Well, next, and to the appeal for seal sitters on the Isle of Man to join the effort to rescue and rehabilitate young seals.
Yeah, these seals at just a few days old are so seriously cute, it's hard to believe any mum could abandon them. But they were found stranded and in distress on the coast off the Isle of Man.
Well, the Manx Wildlife Trust now wants more volunteers to take part in their seal rehabilitation programme.
Joshua Stokes reports on some of their vital work.
From north to south, east to west, you don't have to go far in the Isle of Man to spot a seal. But for the young pups separated from their parents, the Manx Wildlife Trust are here to help.
Mostly it's feeding them. They eat a lot, cleaning them out and preparing the fish and just making sure that they're healthy. And I like to think that without us doing it, these two especially probably wouldn't have survived because, you know, their mums just weren't there. So I think it is quite crucial, and even if we can only help a couple, it's a big thing.
And once the seals are well enough, they're then ready to return to the wild.
Now this is Crunchy, and she's been here around 7 weeks now, and she weighs around 40 kilos. And tomorrow she's going to be released back into the sea here in the Isle of Man.
And after 1.5 months in care, that special day has finally arrived.
I was the one who went and picked up Crunchy on that day 7 weeks ago, and then to see her today, and obviously as she's sort of grown and developed and seen her character and things, it's lovely, it's wonderful, because it just shows you it's all worth it, you know, when they go back out to sea and they swim off and you're all there like, ugh, but it's lovely to see. Yeah, really, really nice.
With a bit of encouragement, she's back in the wild. Joshua Stokes, ITV News, in the Isle of Man.
I know. It must be so hard to say goodbye. They're so cute.
Yeah, those lovely looks to camera. They're very sweet.
Too much. Well, look, there is more on the work of the Manx Wildlife Trust on our website, the usual address, itv.com/Granada.
Yeah, and all the very best to Crunchy back out at sea. Now let's see what the weather has in store. Here's Kerry.
He's cooked up a storm and now he's going to scrape the fat into the bin instead of the sink. My guy.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Hang on, was that fish?
Hello, very good evening to you. It's not been too bad across the region today. A little bit drier and brighter this afternoon compared to this morning, but it doesn't bother Barney. He's dressed for all weathers, and there's a lot of talk about maybe something a little bit more wintry in the forecast coming up. Well, not this weekend, but the following weekend we could see our real proper first cold spell. But in the meantime, in the next couple of days, milder, much milder than we'd expect for the time of year, strong winds and some rather cloudy conditions. So the mild air and high pressure seeps its way in from the southwest, but around that high for us, still quite breezy conditions into tomorrow, and then nothing too significant until Saturday when we get this cold front sinking its way south, and that in turn will introduce a brief cold snap before we look ahead to the following weekend. So overnight tonight, quite cloudy conditions working in from the west, misty and murky and damp over the hills, and the winds picking up, so becoming quite strong and gusty and blustery, particularly for coast hills, the Isle of Man by dawn, and temperatures pretty much what we'd expect for the time of year by day. It's very sometimes as we head into Thursday, 7:42 and 4:09. Tomorrow morning then, quite a lot of cloud, poor visibility over higher ground, some dampness here, light rain and drizzle, and quite gusty and blustery winds, but the winds will ease slowly into the afternoon. We could see a little bit of thinning and brightening of the clouds, certainly as we head further south, but highs 14, we'd be happy with an 8 at this time in November. Quite cloudy skies as we head into the early part of Friday, but mostly dry and staying pretty mild, and then that system coming down during the second half of Saturday, making it colder but clearer for Sunday.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Bob! Amy!
Oh, you've got to love our colleagues here. Just because we love those pictures so much of the seal, they're going to show them all over again for us, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, where are they?
How can the gorgeous
Maybe
faces...
not.
How can those gorgeous faces not put a smile on your face?
Promising and not delivering, guys.
Well, we were going to show you pictures, but we'll maybe show you them tomorrow.
The sentiment was good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.